everybody, welcome back to Baruch A'Havat Israel KOLLEL in San Diego. We're very happy to continue, and I hope everybody's fast was good. Everybody got a lot from Tisha B'Av. As always, I would like to dedicate this year REFUAH SHELEMAH for Yitzchak and Ella, and for my grandfather Levy, and the נישמת my great grandfather Getzel, Halevi. That it may Neshama have a big aliyah from all this learning that we're doing. Okay, so we're going to start now. We're going to finish the sixth chapter today. We're on Hay, on the Perek Vav, the sixth chapter, the fifth Mishnah in the sixth chapter. So when we wash our hands for bread, and we make a bracha on the bread, there's the intention that your bracha for the bread, since it's a staple, it's something that's more chashuv than the other foods that you're going to eat with that bread. All the food will be included in it. You say you're having, you're using the bread to dip it in hummus or whatever it is. You don't need to make separate brachas and everything. You wash your hands, you say motzi, and that covers everything. So with wine is the same case. When it comes to wine, you make the baruch al hayayin shlifnei hamazon. You make a bracha on the wine before you start the meal, and after. And it's pater and exempts the wine that you're going to drink after the meal. Between the meal and Birchas HaMazon, that's the wine that we're talking about. So okay, so that's the first idea in the first halacha in this Mishnah. Baruch ha'parish lifnei hamazon, pater es ha'parish l'achar hamazon. So the same concept, the same idea with parperis, which is something that is eaten together with bread, meat, fish, eggs, things of that nature. If you're going to be saying shahakol on a piece of fish before for your meal, then it carries on, and your piece of meat later, obviously you have to wash. Some people hold you have to wash your mouth out or eat a piece of bread between there, but if you're going to have meat and then fish and then meat, or opposite meat in whatever way, you don't have to say another bracha each time. If it's part of the meal, it's in the same time length, it's the same people you're around and the same table you're at, then it's considered fine, and the bracha will carry over. Baruch ala pas pater as paperes ala paperes le pater as pas. So we spoke about the idea that pas, bread, covers those things. So it says over here that if you say bracha on hamotzi, on a piece of bread, it covers the paperes. The paperes again are things that are eaten with bread: fish, eggs, cheese or meat, whatever. All these different things that are eaten together with bread. The pas, bread, if you say a bracha on hamotzi, that will cover the paperes. It will cover these items, but al paperes loy pateres apas. But if you say a shahakol on a piece of fish, it's not going to cover the bread. We're going to learn in the different Mishnah how it could cover it in certain cases. But in a regular case where you're eating, you're having a meal and you eat bread first, it already covered the other stuff. But if you said only a bracha shahakol, thinking that it's going to cover all the bread that you're going to eat during the meal, it won't work. So not only does this paperis of the shahakol bracha that you're going to be making, not only does it not cover bread, it won't cover something that's mazonos as well. That's according to Beis Shammai. So now we're on Vav. So this is very interesting, this halacha, because I'm actually trying to understand it very simply. It seems very odd, and as we translate it, I'll explain. So people are sitting together they would just happen to be sitting at the same table. Each one would say the brachas hamazon to themselves. The brachas before and after, like the brachas, the brachas coming before and the brachas after, they would say for themselves if they just happen to be sitting at the table together. Hasebu achad mavarach l'kulan. So if they were leaning, if these people were leaning together, and so basically this goes back in the days when this Mishnah was written. They had this concept of people used to lean together when they were having a serious meal, a meal that consisted of people, they came together on purpose there. This wasn't an accident that people just happened to be sitting next to each other. This was meant to happen. They would lean. They would, just like we lean on Pesach, like the same type of, different halachas or whatever, but the same idea of the leaning is that according to this Mishnah, that if they're leaning together, their intention is to have a meal together. Therefore, somebody would say the brachas before and after for everyone, as opposed to hayu yoshvin la'echol, they were just sitting amongst each other. They weren't leaning. And I mentioned before that it seems very odd, this Mishnah, because it just seems very. How do you know? What does it mean to lean? If everybody's leaning, if one person's leaning, it's like, it also seems a little, so it says over here in the commentary that nowadays, since this doesn't happen, anybody who's really sitting together, it's coming together and having a meal. If people were sitting next to me right now and we're eating together, it would be more of a meal. We wouldn't have to be leaning. So if there was wine brought within this meal that people are having together, and it was brought within it, meaning they're in the middle of having their meal, each person would say the bracha on the wine for themselves. So apparently, if the wine came afterwards, it came after everyone, even after the bracha hamazon, then there would be one person who says the blessing for everyone. One of the reasons they say is that because if they're in the middle of their meal, then the people are busy. They're busy eating their meal, and if they're busy eating their meal, they're not going to be paying attention to the bracha being said. So therefore, if a wine comes during a meal, everyone says their own bracha, and they don't have to wait and listen to one person say for everyone. But after the meal, they're done and they've said birkas hamazon, and then a little wine comes out. They're not busy anymore. So therefore, one person's going to be saying the bracha for everyone. So another thing that they used to do back in the day that we actually, some people do this, and they hold of this still. It's not a halacha or anything particular. It's more, I guess, of a nice thing to do. Maybe it could help you with, there's a separate mitzvah of having 100 brachas during the day. So this could be connected to, apparently each person, if you do the math, different how many brachas you're saying out through davening and how many during the day of shahakal and benching, you should come to a calculation, you should come to a sum total of 100 brachas, you just say. So this could have some, this what I'm about to say now could have some of that in here, or it could just be something nice that I don't know exactly. But apparently people used to smell incense after or during the meals. But and nowadays some people do, some Hasidim, they have some leaves that they keep nearby, and they say they say the summon, and it's like a summon, and what happens is that if you say this, so if let's see what it says here, that because it wasn't the purposes. So v'hu ha'emer al midmar afal pisha in mavin es midmar elo la'achar asudas. So the person who said the bracha for the birchas hamazon, that person, I did mess up a little bit in the beginning of this Mishnah. We said that if people are eating together, they would say the birchas hamazon by themselves, if they just happen to come together. But if they're leaning, then the Birchas Hamazon is said that was in regards to Birchas Hamazon. That wasn't in regards to Yain. The second one was Yain. Okay, so this one's about incense. So if incense was brought, then one person would say the bracha for everyone, even if it was brought only after the meal. Meaning they already said Birchas Hamazon, one person would go and say the bracha on the incense. The person who recites the Birchas Hamazon for the group also says the blessing on the incense that is passed around after the meal. So again, let's just recover. So if we have, because I'm sorry, but I was a little bit slow. I might not be so comprehensive of all the things that I said, but just a little recap to understand better. We have, if people are sitting together and they're having a meal and they all said hamotzi, but they're not leaning, therefore everybody says the bracha of Birchas Hamazon for themselves. If they were leaning, then one person says the Birchas Hamazon for themselves. If wine is brought within the meal, not at the end, not at the beginning, within, everybody says the bracha for themselves because they're busy. If the wine was brought after, one person says it. And that same person who says the Birchas Hamazon after, because there was a seba, and everybody was leaning, and he said the Birchas Hamazon, that person would also say the bracha on the incense, even though the incense is the bracha, apparently according to this Mishnah, is said after all Birchas Hamazon. You would think, how is that connected? How is it that Birchas Hamazon and this incense is like the person, it should carry over, the same person who says this, but it says that person also gets the honor. Even if there's somebody who's more honorable in the room, that same person who said the Birchas Hamazon after should also say the bracha for the besamim, or the different smelling thing, whatever incense they use. Fine, Zion. Aviyu lefanav maliach b'tchila v'pas imay. So this is a very famous halacha. This is something that's very, very important and very kind of difficult to understand and to know when one is ikr, one is tafel. But we're going to be speaking about ikr and tafel, the main thing and the subordinate, the secondary food. The main food and the secondary food, the primary and the secondary. So if somebody brings salty food, a salty type of fish, and with this you need bread to kind of ease the saltiness. So even though we said before that when you wash your hands for bread and you say hamotzi, it can cover, it can cover a soda, or it can cover, mazonos things or shahakal things. Over here, the point that is happening, the primary food is that fish, is the meat. That's the primary food. Meaning the only reason we're going to eat that bread is only because we need the sharpness of the food. We need the bread to take the sharpness out, or to ease the, back then maybe it wasn't as, food wasn't as so easy to make. There's still going to be some, tender, too much going on in the food, and you need the bread to ease your taste buds. So therefore, we can actually say that there's no bracha required on the bread at all, and it's actually considered a secondary food, and the salty food is the one that gets the bracha. Zeh klal, and this is the rule across all of Shas. All these things that are primary, and he eats it with a secondary food. If you make the bracha on the first one, and you in your putter, you're exempt from the secondary food. A very good example of this is herring. I don't know if everybody's into herring, but herring and a cracker. Some would say that you don't need it because you're just using the cracker to kind of help you with the sharpness of the herring, or to just give you kind of like a spoon type of utensil, instead of having to use a spoon and just eat that. Nobody really eats herring plain, so that cracker, that kichel, some people would call it kichel, that cracker, people would eat it and not need to make a bracha on bracha mazonos on it, because really the ikar is the shmaltz herring, whatever kind of herring you're having. That's a practical example. Okay, ikar teufel is a very, very important thing. It comes up a lot of different times, in especially in brachos, and it's a very good halacha to learn, because there's a lot of, it can include mixtures. Cholin has, so many different things in it. Zonos and adama and shahakol. So which one do you say? Do you separate each one? I mean, we're not getting now into halachas, but it's something right here in the Mishnah that we finally have a makor. We have a proof of where we see this, and it's here in the Mishnayos. Okay, for the final Mishnah in chapter 6, and then we move on to 7, 8, and 9. We have 3 more chapters in brachos. Baruch Hashem, we're very getting close to that, to a little siyum, to a little bit of mazel tov for anyone who's following. Let's do the final Mishnah. Achol te'enim anavim v'rimonim. So somebody's eating dates, figs, grapes, or pomegranates. Mavarich acharehen shalosh brachos. So according to this first opinion, which is not a famous opinion because we don't hold like this, but if you eat some of these 7 sheva minim, these special 7 different, we spoke about this in a different Mishnah, but these 7 special foods, you actually would say the berachas hamazon. You wouldn't say what we're used to is ma'ain shalosh, as we're going to speak of. Divrei Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel says that we say we say berachas hamazon after eating the sheva minim. So the Chachamim say there's something called me'ain bracha, something that takes the berachas hamazon and it abridges it. It makes it a shorter version, and that's what we say. So when we say the shalosh brachos, we're really saying the berachas hamazon just in a shorter version, and the Chachamim say that is what we need to say of sheva minim. We don't need to say the whole entire berachas hamazon, but Rabbi Gamliel says you do. Rabbi Kiva goes even further and says that not only would you say berachas hamazon when it comes to the sheva minim, which you would think, okay, fine, the sheva minim, so maybe it would make a little sense to say the berachas hamazon because they're so special. But Rabbi Kiva says if you're having a meal that's filled with vegetables, that is only vegetables, and that's where you're going to be eating the whole time, you're actually going to say a berachas hamazon for eating those cooked vegetables. Say you have not just a regular little snack. You're eating a couple carrots, you're eating a celery stick, but you're actually having a big piece of a big chunk of cabbage, like a bunch of cabbage, and you have a nice salad, and you have some big full cucumbers and full really big. Like having a real full meal filled with vegetables, which are very healthy, and we should all, hopefully eat that way. You would say a berachas hamazon. So it's interesting. Rabbi Kiva really holds with this idea that it's about satiation. It's about being satisfied. It's not really just because it's mazonos or whatever. That's it. But anything that's satisfying. That's why if you have like 3 salads, it's satisfying. You're really filled. You're filled up. And that's what that's what the berachas hamazon is really about. Okay, so that was Rabbi Kiva. So if we drink some water, everybody knows the bracha shahakol niyeh b'dvarav. That's what we say first. That's the first opinion here. Rabbi Tarfon, bari nefashos rabbis. So Rabbi Tarfon says everybody knows. I mean, not everyone, but we can go through it that there's a bracha after saying if you drink a certain amount of water, and it can't just be one little gulp. It needs to be like this much in a cup or something at one time without any pauses, and you drink that, or you have like an apple in a certain amount of time. You need to say bar nefashos. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam bari nefashos rabbos v'chasonan al kol ma shebaras l'chayos b'hem nefesh kol chai baruch ha'olamim. That bracha, according to Rabbi Tarfon, is said before that gulp of water and after. So most people hold everybody holds. The way we hold is that you say shahakol. But here, if Tarfon goes in front and says no, b'rei nefashos, we need to say this bigger blessing. So Baruch Hashem, today we finished. We're on the 7th. We're going to be moving on to the 7th chapter, and we're going to be speaking about next time about to make a zimun. You know, you need 3 people eating together at a meal to be making to say and you have to say the different stuff. But thank goodness we're really moving along, and anybody who sees this, can you share it around, hopefully, so that people can continue on with their learning. And really, the point is to learn. I don't know how to learn. I don't know how to. I'm not a rabbi. I'm not anything special, but I'm somebody that genuinely knows that learning is a key to connecting to Hashem, and it's a key to becoming a better Jew. I mean, Talmid Torah Keneged Kulam. When you take all of the mitzvahs of the Torah and you add them together, according to a different, we say it every morning, Talmid Torah Keneged Kulam. You take all these other mitzvahs and you put it together and you weigh it out on a scale. Torah is equal to all of these amazing mitzvahs. And Torah means learning Torah, understanding it, to really know it, to give it over, to learn it. So I don't know how to learn. I'm just learning with you guys. I'm just trying to, learn, just trying to spread it. And if you guys can spread it and make it bigger and bigger, then we can, all grow and all become better. And just learning Torah is amazing. And we have to really love it. We have to really give our all. And to make sure to go to nesatorah.org, Rabbi Daham's, shiurim are amazing. And you should share his shiurim. I've heard him many times. He's a really beautiful speaker, and answers questions very beautifully. And so everybody, please spread it around, make Torah known. And even if you don't want to spread this share around, go to a different share. There's so many shiurim out there. There's Torah anytime you can go to. There's so many different places. Real clear daf, if you want to do a daf yomi every day. Torah is the ikr. Learning is a very big ikr. We spoke about ikr and tafel today. And learning is an ikr, and the tafel is anything else in this world, like all the worries, all the troubles, those are all tafel. We shouldn't even focus on those things. So thank you everybody for listening, and have an amazing, great week, and we'll continue with the share, hopefully finishing the whole Mishnayos brachos. Thank you.
Yeah.